Hello again. Well, it's only 2 a.m. instead of 3 or 4, like when I've been recording recently. Not sure what's going on, but I'm going with it. What does it matter? I'm in charge of my own life, and I like it that there are no clocks or calendars in charge of me. So, and I always seem to light up when it's a Jaguar day. Today is 12 Jaguar, and tomorrow is Wednesday, is going to be the Ascension Day for this Tracina. It will be 13 Eagle, and those are both powerful days for me. I was born on one of them. Okay, so this journal continues with the subject matter of the last one that I recorded, though they were written 3 days apart. That was 5/5. This is 5/8. And the second one of that day, the Mayan day, was 11 read. And I've got some good links for you in the transcript, so do click over there and check them out. For people who like to dive into a subject, this is a good journal to help you do that. So, something seems to be coming alive inside. I don't know what it is, but I know it isn't bad. It feels really good. I have more energy, for one. And when you take narcotics for pain relief, that's unusual. They usually slow the body down a good bit. So it's nice to feel a bit charged up for a change. You know, when we look back at the great work done with the Mayan calendar by Ian Lungold and by Dr. Carl Calleman, one thing is clear, and that's that the calendar was an illustration of the acceleration of time across the ages, back to the Big Bang. It's not so much that time is going any faster, though it may be, as that we're compressing far more life and living, more activity into the same amount of time. Now, another thing is it was cumulative. Each acceleration, level by level on the step pyramids, uh, built on the previous one, creating greater and greater intensity. That was why each layer of the step pyramid was smaller than the one before or beneath it, yet it represented the same amount of action or activity. So it took a smaller and smaller time to accomplish the same things. Maybe like an ascending spiral, getting tighter and tighter and tighter. Singularity ahead, anyone? That meant that the 9 layers or ages represented grew shorter and shorter. By the time we reached the last one, which either ended last October or ends on 12/21, as some believe, the acceleration has reached a fever pitch. It multiplies on a basic calculation that's easy to do. Each level is 20 times more compressed than the previous one. If we carry it forward as if there was another level past the 9th, that 10th one would complete itself in just 9 days. If memory serves, the 9th completes in 360 days. So, where does that leave us? First, when we're looking at such huge cycles, being off by a bit is inconsequential. It's more like geology that looks at time in very large chunks. So it's no big deal whether the current 9th level completes last October or this one, this December. The principles remain the same: endless, intensifying time compression or acceleration. Now I say endless because these are cycles and they go in circles. So I don't think the Mayans meant that time ends, just the end of one cycle, the beginning of another. We could speculate as to why the Mayans ended their calendar in 2012 for all the good it would do, until we can either read the Akashic records, the book of life, for the real story. It would be mere guesswork. Do consider, though, that the ages and cycles they studied are cyclical and could go on forever. Yet, it's not possible in 3D to build a never-ending pyramid. I'm not one for believing in endings, rather just in transitions. Birth and death of the body are sample transitions. If we had higher vision, it's easy to see how we have our celebration of these events somewhat backwards, yes, and upside down. If we're sensible, we'll mourn the birth into the restrictions of 3D and celebrate our freedom from them at bodily death. That really makes better sense, at least to me. Transhumanists are those who oppose transitions, so it seems. Now, on one hand, they're very wise. I agree that it shouldn't be necessary for the bodies to age quite as they do, or to last such a short time. But I'm after a far more natural resolution of that, rather than the introduction of chips and nanotech into bloodstream, brain, etc. If your computer can crash or be infected by a Trojan or a virus, what do you do when that computer chip happens to be in your brain? It's patently ridiculous, except for those who want wholesale control of society and every member thereof. From that perspective, it makes sense. Endless or eternal life in the body is something I'd turn down cold. Not even interested. I am already everything that is. Why do I need this? I can have infinitely flexible perspective and sample the perspective, the consciousness, the lifespan of a fly, a bacterium, a whale, a rock, a blade of grass, anything I like. There are trees whose lifespan covers 4 figures, over 1,000 years of living. I'm sure many of them are willing to share. Have we asked them? It's on us to make the shifts necessary in consciousness to perceive life from these vastly differing views. And those are just ones currently on this planet. And we're not limited like that. Our reach is infinite. Again, I think it gets back to a misunderstanding of one of the most basic questions in life. Who am I? Or what am I? When your answer is that you believe you're the body or the body mind, well, you're liable to take some wrong turns on the pathway into higher consciousness, into transcendence. You'll define transcendence itself entirely differently. That perspective is also the one that can generate the bodily fear of death or the mental fear of it. Now, how to tell the transhumanists that's not what you are? Even if you tell them, they're not listening. Many are rampantly racing into their vision of the utopian future. where they can extend their 3D lifespan into forever. If they get there, chances are they will be heartily sorry for it one day. The soul will weary without the refreshment that is our native reality between incarnations. Talk about soul fatigue. The poor dears, look how fatigued we are after only a few decades here. They don't even realize what they're setting themselves up for. And this is not even considering that anything would go wrong with the technology. Hello. Or that some would use it for purposes of control. Yet, what can you do when you're in a free will universe? If people or beings want something, and if it doesn't harm others, then there is no reason they should not have it. In this case, I suggest it will both harm them and others. Even the whole society could be taken over by some fantastic hacking. Maybe that's even the plan behind the scenes. Let's not be trusting. So, I don't see it as harmless. Still, there should be some way, somewhere, they could have their dream world. I'm not opposed to that. What would that be? Well, friends, whatever it is, it's not for the bulk of us who are now in process of moving on. We're rising in frequency and consciousness so that we won't long even be visible to them physically. So we won't play a part in their wild, crazy dreams. We're moving on. Yet, Source being Source and life being founded in and on love and only love, it's my bet that there will be a world somewhere where the transhumanists get their biobot creations to manifest physically, where they can go to live out their dreams. Now, from my perspective, chances are that it will be quite a nightmare. People haven't deeply considered how it will take over all of mankind. It's either that or leave the real biological people to fall into second-class status, and quickly. They just won't be able to compete with chip-enhanced techno-humans. And this technology doesn't have soul or spirit or anything remotely like it built in or even considered. So once the techno-humans have taken over running things, what will be their morality? What sort of things will they impose? Of course, for our benefit. That's how such things are always presented. Have you noticed? Most recent example being the Patriot Act. They only want to help and protect us. But of course, now, don't sink into any kind of fear with this. That's not my point. And the only thing fearing would be, the only thing that would be in fear would be the 3D aspects of being. Who you really are is untouchable, eternal, and divine. No fear is possible there, so that's where I suggest we identify. The more we accept and put on our true identity, the less we'll experience fear of any kind. We'll step back and watch or witness it. It won't take us over like before. Enter heart. No fear there at all. Let us remember, too, that everything is actually perfect, just as it is. Now, don't hear this from mind. Mind is guaranteed to misunderstand and misinterpret. And if you're living from mind, then no, everything is definitely not perfect. And you don't realize that it's just your perspective that's off or that can be shifted, not you. You are divine. That's inescapable, even more so than death and taxes here in 3D. So let's not blow this thing all out of proportion. It's also well to remember that to change things outside, that's done by changing them inside first. It's the inside that's creating what appears to be outside, but really isn't. The kingdom is ever within. We won't find it out there. Eventually, we'll realize there isn't even an out there, it's all within. Truth will always win in the end. It's just that there can be some tremendously long cycles that beings get themselves involved in by making certain choices. They're not even wrong. It's just that we'd rather not have to go through them. Yet, if we did, I'm sure we'd reap great benefits by that too. I'm just not signing up for that particular tour of duty. Let them that want to go in that direction. Me and mine, we're headed on a different track entirely. Thank God for free will. So be at peace, my friends. Don't let anything I ever say or share upset you. And if it does, then just be in heart with that and watch. There's something there for you, some sort of gift or awakening on your horizon, casting its shadow before. This whole realm is quite turned around and mirror-like. Things just are not what they seem. When we get upset or in fear, we're believing in the seeming, in something or other that isn't even real. It's like medicating the pimple on the mirror, not on your face. We find out quickly by going into heart what is and what isn't, well, real or important. Priorities shift. The unreal can't make it into heart at all. It's our ultimate place of both safety and peace. Now, I've got a couple of PSs here and a funny little thing. Cameras reverse things, and so right is left and left is right. And it's opposite to what you get when you look in the mirror. And so after a discussion with Art Fantasies tonight, it's funny that I just flipped my camera. So now it's what you see is what you get, as if it was a mirror. Okay, here's a PS. I have an idea. Instead of enhancing current biology with technology and nanotech and so on, how about enhancing our current DNA? The 97% that's currently inactive? Hello. Wrap your imagination around that if you want a shockingly improved version of mankind. Oh my God, it beggars imagination. If we can do all of this with only 3% active DNA, what exciting potential lies hidden in the rest of it? And why do we find no one discussing this? I've never heard anyone mention it. Now, I'm sure it is discussed behind closed doors. Well, let's bring this discussion out into the open rather than making second or third class humans out of those whose free will choice is not to have their bodies enhanced in this mating with, this worship of technology, why not unlock the hidden codes in everyone's DNA? Please, friends, do consider what it might be like if this transhumanist, eternal life thing were to succeed as they envision it. It would be nothing less than the full takeover of our society by the biobots, who wouldn't be quite human anymore. That's not to mention that there's never been a technology that wasn't hacked and abused in multiple ways. This would amount to the potential control of all of the biobots. Yes, they would be taken over. After they were allowed to take over all of the rest of us. Face it, please. No fear. But realize that as long as there are those on the planet who are power hungry and willing to do evil, this technology will fall into the wrong hands. It always does. Just look around. Let's not continue sleeping along in our induced stupidity. We really can wake up, you know. It's the free will choice of all who choose heart over head. Now, waking up is transcending the 3D mind, the brain, not cementing it in as the ground of our being, perpetuating it endlessly, endless limitation. Oh my God, this is ridiculous. It's not the way of real transcendence. We are beings of spirit and energy. Let our transcendence be spiritual and energetic. Who among us has the vision to see this and speak out about it? Let's make some noise over this, inform our brethren, get them thinking as well. It's unacceptable, and people are only following along because they don't yet recognize the wrong thinking that's at the base of it, identifying with the body. We must begin at the start with the definition of the I. We're not body, we're not mind, we're consciousness. That's where we will do our transcending. And I don't think it can even be pegged down quite that way, but that's a whole lot closer than all the rest. And finally, PPS. Kurzweil is working for and with the military. By his own admission, I have a link for you to a good video. This is chilling and should give us pause and great concern. Now, be sure to enjoy it, my friends. Up, down, or sideways, it doesn't matter. Enjoy. It's a choice.